Disclosure. Welcome to the Stone Disclosure. I am your host, Trey, and feeling really grateful lately, feeling really positive with just the way everything is panning out in life. So I want everyone else to also take the time to sit back and think about your own victories when it comes to how your life is going. There has been a lot of chaos and negativity going on, I would just say, even in the last month, let alone the last few weeks. If you turn on the news or you go on social media or anything like that, all you see is just all these negative events that are happening over and over and over and over and over. People are dying. People are they're going through the rough, and it's unfortunate because no one wants to see that, but we also have to take into consideration that that is life, right? There are going to be ups and downs in life all the time. And I just feel like social media is one of those things that just really just focuses on the negative. Because as human beings, when we live in a place where we have the positives happening and they're so abundant, we tend to focus on the things that go wrong. So I want everyone to kind of take a step back and kind of look at your life and say, yes, there are some negative things going on, but there are a lot of positive things going on as well, and kind of shift our perspective on how we view the environment around us. That being said, this episode is going to be about countering negativity. And let's be honest, guys, negativity can come from everywhere. It can come from the environment that we're in and the people that we're around and our own things that are happening in our personal lives. It's rough. It sucks. And for somebody who has recently gone through a string of just negative events, it was really hard to kind of maintain positivity. Life is life. Sometimes there's situations that happen that you can't necessarily control. You can do your best to kind of work through it, and that's about it. And if it doesn't, sometimes it just needs to run its course, or sometimes we just need to accept that that part is just going to be that part until something eventually changes that. The one that bothers me is negative people. Now, take the time, guys. Think back into your life. Think of all those people in your life that you may still have in your life, or maybe you booted them out a while ago, and they're just negative. They just want to just put this negative aura out there all the time, and everything's a problem and everything's an issue, and no, you can't do that because of this, and no, life sucks because of that. And they're just mentally draining people to have around. I've learned recently, I can't even say recently, it's something that I've kind of believed for the longest while, but just kind of going through this transition of growth, you start to kind of really realize that your body knows how those people affect you. You ever been in a conversation with like a really just negative person, and you're just sitting here like, why am I here listening to you? Like, we are not going to get to any sort of like rationalization, conclusion, or resolution in this scenario. And they're the type of people that come to you and they're like, oh man, like this is happening and this is happening and this is happening. And it's like, yeah, I want to be here for you. I want to hear you. I want to talk. I want to kind of guide you through this thing. But like, do you want to just vent, or do you want advice? Because like, I think it's important to clarify what direction we want to take in this altercation. And it's like, they ask for advice. So that's what they say that they want. But every time you come up with some kind of answer, It's like, no, I can't do it because of this. No, it can't happen because of that. No, it can't happen because of this. Oh, this happened like 15 years ago and that's why I can't. And you're just looking for reasons as to why shit just ain't gonna work. And it used to bother me so much, to the point where I was just kind of like, then what do you want from me? Like, why are we having this dialogue? Because clearly you don't want to help. And if it's cool and you just want to get it out of your system, cool, let's get it out of your system and keep it moving. And then I had to really sit back after a while. And I've learned a lot when dealing with these type of people as to what works for me. And I can't necessarily say it's going to be for everyone. It's just, it takes a mentality that everyone may not have at this point. But I sat back and I really thought about it. And I'm like, they live such a weird existence for me that I can't even be mad anymore. I just feel more sad for you. And then I started to really dive into this and look into the psychological aspects of it all, and just reading and doing research and talking to people who are in therapy, and talking to therapists and talking to psychologists, and just really gaining as much information as possible. And it changed the way I thought. Now, I used to think negative people were just rude. They were just people who just hate the world, and they're mad at everything, and like, that's just who they are. And I started to take this different approach and realize that negative people really are just hurt people. They're people who live in this weird constant fear of life. And it's not always a bad thing, or it's not always a good thing. It's just their experience with life. Like, let me give you an example. Very, very, very close family member of mine is a very negative human being. Anything you come to them with, any idea that you bring to the table, they immediately have 1,000,001 reasons why it's horrible, or why it's a bad idea, or why it won't work. Like, you can go to them and be like, hey, I just got a job selling coffee. And they'd be like, why? Why do you want to sell coffee? Like, what's the point of that? That's stupid. Why would you want to do that? Well, what's wrong with it? Well, it's stupid. Like, why would you want to do that? It's not a good business idea. And then I sat back and I looked at the lives of those people. And I'm like, your life is not that great. Like, you have a lifestyle that I don't want. And once I started looking at it that way, your negativity didn't really make a difference to me. Because you're almost giving me advice to be you, and I don't want to be you. So when I started really sitting back and looking at it, it made it easier to kind of take in. Now, when I say these people live in a place of fear, it's because they are not equipped for what you're doing. Else, they would be able to actually give you help and advice. Negativity, in my opinion, without explanation is just like the weirdest thing for me. I just don't think it makes sense. Because you're coming to a person saying, hey, well, this is why this is a bad idea. Okay, cool. No problem. Thank you for your advice. Thank you for your experience. Thank you for sharing that information. But if you're just going to come to a person and say, oh, no, that's a bad idea. Well, why? It just is. I'm not going to listen to you. Like, it just is what it is. I don't think anybody's going to take advice from a person who cannot explain why they think the way that they think, because there is something there. And it's not necessarily a situation where they're just, ignorant or anything like that. They may actually just not even know why they feel the way they feel, because they haven't unboxed that part of their life yet. Now, human beings, we take all of our experiences and we kind of put them in these like little areas in our psyche, and some of us like open those boxes and try to like sort it out, and others just store it away in the closet. And fear comes a lot from those people who just store it in the closet, because you don't know what's in there. You ever put something away and then you go open that closet and you're like, holy, like, where did all this come from? It's because you didn't even remember you put it there, and now reality is now hitting you in the face again when you open that closet and you see all these things in there. This is how these people think. So when you come across people with a very, very negative outlook in life, and they can't really give you an answer as to why that is, again, it doesn't make them a bad person. It just means that the information they're giving you is false, because they can't really justify why they feel that way. And until they can, you can't really add anything constructive to them. So we have to sit back and think to ourselves that their reality is not our reality. What you went through in your life is not necessarily what I'm going through in my life. The skill set you may have and the experiences you had are not necessarily the same ones that I have. So you can tell me situations about, oh, I wouldn't work at this coffee shop because one time I went into this coffee shop and coffee spilled on me. And I'm like, that's great. It's a very unfortunate situation that happens to you, but that is not my experience. So it's very difficult for me to look at it that way and be like, oh, well, now I'm not going to go work at Starbucks because coffee fell on you. At the end of the day, I still have to go through my process, and your reality is you, but mine is mine. And at the end of the day, this happened to you, but this did not happen to me. And maybe if it eventually does happen to me, now I can look at the situation and say, okay, well, no, you had a point, right? Until then, it's just, you're telling me a story, and I'm thankful for it, but it's not necessarily something I'm going to abide to. Now, the thing with negativity is we really have to separate two different things, right? Are we dealing with a negative person or are we dealing with a critical person? Because those are two very different things in my opinion. And the best way I think I can describe it is this. A negative person tells you what's wrong, but has absolutely no idea, no thought process, no nothing as to why it's wrong and how you're going to resolve it, or even an idea of what needs to be resolved. Case in point, coffee. Oh, I don't like working at a coffee shop. Well, why? I just don't. Okay, cool. Or, I don't like working at a coffee shop. Why? Well, when I was there one time, coffee fell on me. Okay, well, how do I avoid that? Is there anything that you can think about that would help me kind of work around that or be more mindful of that? No. All right, cool. That's just negative. You're just a negative human being, right? You had a bad experience that you haven't unboxed, and you just shut yourself off from anything because of that one bad experience. Versus a critical person. Now, a critical person will look at the situation when you come to them and say, hey, I'm going to go work at Starbucks. And they're like, why? Well, I want to work at Starbucks. Well, I think you should be careful when working at Starbucks. Well, why? Well, there's multiple things that could happen to you, right? You could have coffee fall on yourself. I've experienced that firsthand, and it was due to the fact that the environment was just so busy. So I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just saying be careful when you get there. Two different people, both telling you the dangers of going and working in Starbucks. One had nothing to add to the scenario, and one had a lot of information to add to the scenario. Keep your critical people. That's fine. You may not want to hear it all the time. I know a lot of the time somebody's critical with me, and it's hard for me to take it in sometimes. But over time, I've now started to learn that they're actually coming from a good place, and they want to help me through a scenario. Versus the negative people who are just like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I grew up in a household, and some people might have similar experiences with me, where they just told you not to do something, but they never told you why. And it made you want to do it more. So it'd be like, oh, don't go outside after 6. Well, why? Just don't. Because I'm the parent and I said so. I'm going outside after 6 because I'm thinking something's going on and I need to see it for myself. That's just how we're wired. So when you have the people who just kind of give off that negative feel, you're less likely to want to listen to them. Because in your mind, you're telling me not to do something. I don't trust your reasoning. I'm going to go and figure it out. There's a difference between having negative feelings and being a negative person. Now, having negative feelings, everybody has. Right? You were going for that promotion at work, you didn't get it. You're like, oh man, like that's a crappy feeling, right? You're working at the coffee shop, the coffee falls on you. Oh man, that's a horrible experience. And you may reach out to somebody and have that conversation. And like if someone's going through a negative like feeling or a negative stretch or a negative something, and you don't want to support them, then that's on you. You do you. But as like a decent human being, I'll help you through that. No problem. You come to me and you're like, hey, this happened today. I don't really know what to do. Or, hey, you know what? For the last month, this has been going on in my life. And we can sit down and we can try to figure it out. So having a negative feeling is one thing. It's not long term. It's something that you've identified that's like, yeah, this sucks for me and I want to fix this and I want to make this better. And you're just reaching out to try to get that help to do so. But being a negative person, it's almost like they want to bring you into their world, right? Like their life is just not great. They can't figure it out. They don't want to go through the process because it's hard or it's difficult or it's rough or it requires you to change a lot of things in your life. So instead of just, allowing you to have your space, they're like, nah, I'm going to bring you down with me. It's like that person who can't swim and they grab your legs trying to hope that you can swim them to shore, and then you both wind up drowning, right? Misery loves company. So a lot of negative people, if you give them that attention, that's what they're going to want to do. They want to just bring you down with them and make that like a sinking ship type of thing. So people can have negative feelings, that's fine. But if you're coming with the same things over and over and you're complaining about the same things over and over, it's just like, it's one of those things where you don't really know what to do. And you go through this process and you're hearing the same problems over and over and over, and there's no way to try to like resolve it or solve it or something like that. And I think that's where it gets that's where you start to make those differences, right? Is this a new situation that's popped up, or has this been something that we've talked about a million times already and nothing seems to be changing? Now, negativity is very contagious. It is a virus that is contagious to the mind because it's something that's someone will always go through. Like, as I said, you're always going to have negative feelings. But what gets you out of that is that you look at, well, hey, there are positive things in life. And as long as you're able to differentiate the two and say, yes, I'm having a rough go here, but this is temporary and I'll get past it. Whereas like once you get that negativity mindset, all of those things just multiply. So best example of this is you're driving and boom, tire pops, right? Negative experience, 100%. Now you're at the side of the road like, I gotta call CAA, I gotta change the tire, there's all these things I gotta figure out to do, this is horrible, I'm gonna be late for work. Negative mentality is, oh, another thing that happened in my life is horrible. Like, no, it's not. There are so many positives that happen in your life every single day. Just waking up is a positivity. Being able to go to your kitchen and grabbing a snack is a positive. Right? Having that car in the first place, though, yeah, your tire popped and you got to fix it. The fact that you had it and you have this freedom to move around and do things, and you have this resource that you could use for so many things, that's a positive. We get so caught up in focusing on the negative, and we have been programmed to do that by the media. And I don't want to always blame media, because I think media is a tool and we could use it however we want. But what was the one thing that historically we always saw? Our parents watching the news. And when you watch the news, what do you see most of the time? You don't always see the feel-good stories. You may get one or two. But this shooting happened here, and then this happened here, and then this negative experience happened here. So we are now kind of like programmed in our mind to believe that there's always going to be more negative things happening to us than positive things happening to us. And because the positive things are actually so abundant, we don't realize it. And that's the crazy part about it. And it's not really anything that we can do. It is just the way that our brain is wired. When you get an abundance of something, you almost don't even realize it's there. Like, think about it. You don't realize that it's around you. You don't realize that it's there. You don't realize that you're breathing every single day until the one time that you can't breathe. Then you're like, oh gosh, like what's going on? Like, we live in such abundance with positive things that it's almost like we're looking for the bad things because they're so few and far between. And the sad thing about getting into that mindset, that negativity mindset, is you're programming yourself to only see the bad things that are happening and amplify them. It's almost like you don't even realize that positive things are happening in your life. Or you don't realize that things are going well in some aspects. Yes, some are horrible, But hey, these ones are going well. And I always say that it's worth it to kind of sit back and have gratitude. Where you are now is most likely where you wanted to be 4 or 5 years ago. If you really look back into your life. Now, this is not the case for everybody, and this is not the case for every part or aspect of your life. But let's take the person with the car for an example. At one point, you wanted a car. Now you got one. Your tire popped on the car that you wanted. But 3 or 4 years ago, you didn't have it. 3 to 4 years ago was a dream. And now you're here and now you have it. But now because you have it, you don't really think about, oh man, like I have a car now and da 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 da. Like you've had it for so long, you don't even think about it anymore. And that's why it's always good to go back every now and then and say, you know what, like at one point, this is what I wanted and I have it. And now I'm in a great place where I'm better off than I was, at least in this aspect. Now, it's not going to be everything because life is very up and down. Sometimes you're going to have great things happening to you in this aspect and horrible things happening to you here. It's great that you have this car, your relationship is falling apart. Great that you bought this new house, but now you hate your job. Like, you're always going to have that up and down. But it's important to remember that when we're having those up and downs, to look at everything equally. Look at the ups the same way we look at the down. Enjoy the peak the same way we enjoy the valley. Because that is really how we're supposed to look at the world. And not take on this everything's against me mentality where we're just negative about everything that happens. Now, to that extent, we need to identify that negativity does exist, right? It does exist. There are bad things that happen. There are people who lose their lives every day. There is people with health issues. Sometimes it's your family members. Sometimes it's people you don't know. There are car accidents every day. People are homeless. Think about your life. There are negative things going on in your life right now. Maybe your relationship isn't the best right now. Maybe it's hard for you to pay your rent. Maybe you're actively looking for a job and you can't find one. I know a lot of people who've been searching now for well over a year, and it's extremely difficult for them to find something. So we need to identify and not dance around the fact that there are negative things in the world. Negative things do happen. But negative things are also common. It's part of this thing that we call life. And if we were to sit down and write down a negative thing that happened and a positive thing, and I mean actively sit back and look at it, you'll start to realize that it really isn't as balanced as you think it is. It's just how you want to look at things. Not, some people will look at, okay, well, right now I'm sick. I got a cold. I don't have a cold all the time, but this is one of the times that I do. So for this stretch, that's a negative thing. But what are the positive things? I have ways to treat this cold. It hasn't stopped me from doing my day-to-day stuff. I have an apartment to clean. Again, on the flip side, I have an apartment to clean. I could be homeless. So we need to kind of start understanding that both do exist and both are needed. The yin and the yang were both needed to provide overall balance in life. Now, be careful with these people in your life who are negative people. And I know that the first thing that a lot of us may want to do, and I think everybody who follows my channel or knows anything about the Stone Disclosure or know me personally, like, I'm a person that likes to help people. So your first inkling for anybody who actually like appeals to any type of content like this, I know you're going to be that person who's going to be like, oh man, you're going through a rough patch, let me help you. Because you're looking at it as maybe they're going through a negative feeling. But you have to be careful when you get into that. And as empathic people, I think we get caught in this trap way too easily. Because we really come in with the best intention to try to assist any way that we can. Now, we got to understand that certain things are going to happen. Now, don't feel bad if you can't help a person navigate their negativity. There's not a lot you can do. Like, there really isn't a lot you can do. This is a thought process and an ideal and a mental space that they have put to feel comfortable with themselves. To them, this is safe. It is easier for them to say, hey, this is bad, 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 this is how my life is. There's nothing I can do about it. My life just sucks. Because they're not in the space yet to where they can sit back and look at, okay, well, these are the things that I might be able to change. They're going to require some work. They're just not ready to do that yet, right? You can't help people unless they want the help. So a lot of the times, our information will just fall on deaf ears. Right? If somebody truly believes like, hey, listen, like, my life is horrible right now because like I'm not advancing in my job. Okay, well, what have we tried so far? How about you try maybe talking to your boss? Oh, they won't listen to me. What, have you tried it? No, but I know they won't listen to me. Okay, maybe take on a project, right? Find a deficiency that you may find in your department and say, hey, I'm going to see if I can resolve this. Oh, well, they won't look at it even if I do it because they don't like me. Okay. What do you want me to do? And this is really like, I will get to this point where I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, we've come up with so many different ideas. I'm trying to help you through this. You don't really seem to be adding anything. You just seem to be telling me this will not work. But you can't explain why it won't work. Once you start to see that, this is where you kind of gotta pull yourself back. You gotta say, hey, you know what? Like, maybe it's just not your time. And that's fine. Like, everything happens in its due time. You hear this all the time. Everything happens in its due time. Now, if it hasn't changed yet, then maybe you're just not ready for the change. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's life, right? We got to understand this. And we got to even take this with ourselves. If you're doing everything to try to change a situation and the situation has not changed, it's just not time for it yet. You're missing something, right? Something didn't align yet. Alignment is huge. Everything aligns at some point in time, and that's what makes the doorway, right? You need that bridge to get you from this island to this island. And maybe it's just not there yet, right? Maybe you haven't learned the skill yet. Maybe you haven't met the right person yet. Maybe you haven't changed your mindset yet. Something is causing that block. And it could be multiple different things. It could be one thing. It could be something you can control or something you can't control. But we have to understand that, okay, it's just not that time yet. We're not ready for that change. And that's fair. So when you're dealing with negative people and you want them to change, and maybe you'll see the pathway, you'll be like, no, I did this. And when I did it, my life changed. That's you. They're not at that point yet. So we can hammer it in over and over and over and give the same advice over and over and over. For some reason, there is a disconnect with what we're trying to do and what we are presenting to them. Maybe they just don't have the ability to look at it that way yet. Maybe they haven't been through the same experiences where it clicks. We have, they have not. So hearing somebody tell you to do something and you actually figuring out how to do it are two different things. There's something missing that they have to figure out. And once they do, they'll take off and fly. It's wonderful. But we have to understand that it's dangerous for us to stay in that space while they're figuring out, especially when they're in that like negative space. Now, we need to be careful as people when we're trying to help individuals, because there are also those negative people who stick around you. And sometimes it's because they're like, you know what, like they're doing the opposite of where I am. Like, I'm very negative. They look at the positives in life. Maybe being around them enough will awaken that in me. And if that happens, great. That's amazing. That's what we want. But there are also those who kind of just, they're waiting around to see you get sucked into that and then see you fail. These people exist. Like, there are just people who are just miserable in their life, and they're waiting for you to fail as well, because you present yourself as the beacon of hope. You present yourself as the person who's like, I'm looking at the negatives and I'm trying to change it, and I'm uppity, I'm trying to do all these amazing things, and they're like, nope, you're gonna fail, and I'm gonna be here when you do, so I can laugh at you, or now I can bring you down to my level or below, because eventually you're gonna fall. You don't need people like that around you. And if you start to see in any way, shape, or form that some of the people around you are like that, if there are people in your life that like will never celebrate when you win something, they'll only criticize when you lose, get rid of those people, because they're not trying to see you get nowhere. I work a very, very competitive career, and there's a lot of people trying to move up. We're all trying to get to the same place. That's life. We're all on this race. We call it the rat race. We want to get to the finish line. As much as I want to get there too, if one of my people gets there, I'm happy. I'm like, good job. You trained harder than me. You ran faster than me. Especially if you just come in and grind and base it on your merit, right? We're all going to have different starting points in life, but if I could see your progression where you were grinding to get there, 110% I'm happy for you. As much as it sucks for me because I wanted to make it to the end, I'll get there eventually. It's fine, but I'm happy that you got there. But if those are people in your life who are just kind of like, you'll get to the end and they're just like, cool. But the second you like fell on the race, they're like, see, this is what I mean. You should, no, cut those people out. Like right then and there. You don't need that. They're not going to help you get anywhere. They're going to just bring you down. Now, if you're starting to identify that some people, again, have the same problems over and over and over and over and over, and they're not really attempting to resolve anything, then they're just people in that victim mentality. You need to get away from people like that. You need to be cautious with having them in your space. That stuff is so contagious and you don't realize it. Because again, we're all going to have negative experiences, and we may come across something and say, yeah, this sucks. But now being around a person will be like, oh yeah, it's horrible. And then that's going to lead to this. And oh yeah, you know what else happened in your life? This too. And then remember that? Like now they're pointing out the negative things that happen in your life that maybe you're already over. But now it just sits in your brain and you don't want that. Having that is just crazy. It's just going to just eat away and eat away and eat away at your happiness, right? And if you're starting to see those people who are just having the same things to complain about over and over and over, again, they're not in a place to fix it. Now, we know in ourselves that like, yeah, sometimes things go well and sometimes things don't, and we can see it in our aspect because we live our day-to-day life. If I can't help you get past it, there's no point in me sitting here and trying to just talk about the same thing over and over and over. At some point, we get to a point where it has to be like, nah, this is your challenge to figure out. I've done all I can. My expertise is only this much. It's this box. And everything in this box you have said has not worked. So this is something you got to figure out. That's your challenge. And maybe the reason that they have this mentality is because they refuse to look into that box for themselves and say, I've got to change things. I've got to do something different. Change is the hardest thing for any human being to do because it requires you to A, be critical of yourself, be critical of your surroundings, and be critical of your decisions. 90% of the time that we're in a situation, it was a decision we made at some point in time. Maybe it's people we're keeping around us. Maybe it's our drive for something. If you're constantly waking up every day and complaining about your job over and over and over and over, I always ask the question, then why don't you just quit and do something that you want to do? And most of the times when I ask that question, they don't have an answer. And I'm like, well, if that's the case and you can't really think about leaving it, then maybe it isn't as bad for you. I know if I walked into a burning building and I was on fire, I would find every reason to leave that building. If I have my hand on a stove and it hurts, I will remove my hand. Our bodies and our minds are designed for self-preservation. So if you're constantly in a situation where you're like, oh my God, everything here is horrible, then change your surrounding. And if you choose not to change your surrounding, then change the way that you look at things. Don't get me wrong, my job can get very stressful. It can get very annoying. I have to deal with clients that are just on you for everything. I don't meet people on their best days. Honestly, most of the time I meet people on their worst days or a bad day or when they're going through some negative feelings. A lot of the times I'm getting pushback from my direction as to how I'm looking at something based on the experiences I had in it, like with a client, but then my management may think differently. So it's like you're constantly in this back and forth. But if I hated it so much, I would have left. If I hated it so much and it was causing me so much anguish, and I'm not going to lie, at one point it was, I changed the way I looked at it. Now, I'll give you guys a quick story. There was a situation that happened with me where I almost lost this job. And I was at home just thinking about it every single day. Like, man, what am I going to do? Like, if I lose this. And I had a phase where I kind of just got hit with things. And I'm like, yo, forget this place. I'm not going back. I'm going to find another job. And I found 3 other ones, paid way more money than this one was going to pay me. But I never took them. And for a while I was kicking myself. Eventually I did get back and everything was fine. But for a while I was kicking myself like, well, why wouldn't you take it? And I really sat back and thought about it and said, I came here for a reason. I chose this job for a reason. And taking the other ones, may have paid me better. But the positives that I do gain from this job, being able to help people, being able to see change in my community, being able to see meeting someone on a bad day who probably didn't want to see my face that day. And at the end of it, they're a completely different human being. That's why I'm doing it. That's why I came here. That's why I do what I do. Because I'm taking a situation that's negative and trying to make it a positive. So on the days where I come in and I'm like, yo, this place sucks and I don't want to be here, I think about, like, listen, I didn't have to have this job. I didn't have to get the gratifications that I get from doing it. I don't have to have all these things. I could go sell insurance and be miserable. That's not what I want to do. So maybe if you're in that situation and you're looking at something and you're like, as much as I say I hate this, I can't will myself to leave. Maybe we look at what are you gaining from it that you hold with so much value? Because clearly the pros are outweighing the cons, or you would have left, or you would have put it to the wayside. So there are positives there that I believe, and I could be wrong, but try it out and see if it works for you, that would be outweighing, the pros would be outweighing the cons at some point. When you're dealing with these type of people, the only thing you can do is give them space. And I say give everybody space, no matter what it is, unless they tell you or show you that they want you to be around. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they're busy in their own little life and they're trying to work through the muck somehow, or hopefully get to a point where they can work through the muck themselves. This goes with everything, right? If you have those friends who you're like, oh, like we have a great relationship, but they go MIA a lot. It happens, right? Sometimes you're in a situation where you're the one constantly now reaching out, seeing if they're okay. Hey, is everything okay? Hey, are you good? Hey, checking in. And yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, everything's cool. All right, great. At some point, you just got to sit back and just be like, hey, I'm just going to give you your space, because maybe you're going through a process where you got to regulate yourself, and me just constantly popping in, it's not going to resolve anything, right? You've got to go through whatever it is that you're going through, and then we can figure it out after. So learning to kind of still care, but give these people their space is huge, especially with those people who are like overly negative. sometimes they just need to be by themselves. And sometimes you need the distance so you don't become that person. So if you get into these situations, guys, like standing back and saying, hey, you do you, I'm here if you need me, but I'm not going to be sucked into this unless we're trying to figure it out, is epic. It's huge. It gives you your time back, your energy back, your space back. It puts a boundary in place saying, here, I don't mind you coming and crossing this bridge, but these are the rules to abide by. Boundaries are important, people. Like, I don't know why people are so against them. Like, it's so fitting. And then this is coming from a person who didn't set boundaries with people. Now I do. Now I'm saying, hey, I got to think about what I got going on too. I know where my life is at right now. I don't mind bringing you in, but you can't be coming here mucking stuff up for me. Like, I know, like, this is where we can function. And once things start to change, so once they start kind of like regulating themselves, or my life is getting more regulated, then we can expand on that a little bit. Otherwise, you're not changing your life to fit their narrative and to fit into them, and it doesn't work that way. You need something to build to. And if I know that my life or my lifestyle is wearing somebody down, or the way I look at things or the way that I'm doing things is wearing people down, I have no problem with you telling me, hey, listen, like, I love you and all, but like, this is what's going on, and I'm trying to just stay away from that. And if I really care about you, now I'm going to go address some of these things. I'm going to look at these situations and be like, okay, well, no, I get where you're coming from. If I'm going to now expand our friendship or our relationship or whatever with you, I know I have to address this. That shows like the ultimate form of care, because to me, if something is identified as like, yeah, it's causing me something or it's causing the other person harm, if I care about you, I'll fix it if I want us to advance. So give people them space. Give them space. Just take a step back. You don't got to cut them off. And when people are just like, oh, just cut them off and move on, like, give them their space. If you give them their space and they're able to work through their stuff and you're able to have an amazing functioning like friendship or relationship in any way, shape, or form after, that's great. That's what we wanted to do. If they don't, it's going to dissipate on its own. Regardless, you're not going to be hit by it because you're at a distance. So just give them space. Now, the last thing I'll say, it goes back to the first point where I said where a lot of negative people live in fear and they're just going through their own experience in life. Most people will find it very hard to elevate themselves. And if they're in your life, they may not want to lose you. So instead, what they're going to do is they're going to try to keep you in their bubble. They're going to keep you in their box. They're going to keep you on their level. And I'll give two examples of this. Imagine you're at your place of employment, and let's use the Starbucks analogy for the best example for this. So you're working at Starbucks, you're a barista, you're doing your thing, you're whipping up the caramel macchiatos. Your big thing is customer service, making sure that people feel good getting their coffee in the morning, having the conversations with them, like, hey, how's life? You know, adding the human element to it. And a new manager comes in who's never done customer service. They're a business person, they understand numbers, and they're looking at this business as, well, we got to sell more coffee and we got to spend less time talking to people. And you're now struggling at this job because you're used to adding the human element to the job, but they don't want you to. So what's going to happen now is they're going to make their policy changes, their rule changes, and everything to make it more efficient timeline-wise, which now removes the customer service aspect because they don't understand the customer service. As a leader or a boss, you're coming into a system that already works. You're coming into a business that has this element to it. So you can either come in and learn it, to now find a balance where you can find a nice little middle ground, or you're just going to come in and say, no, forget what you guys were doing. This is what I say we're doing. And the business fails. May succeed, may fail. The result is the result. This is what people will end up doing. You get to a point in your life where you're trying to improve, you're trying to build, you're trying to gain your wings so you can fly, and they are not willing to do the work. They're not at the point where they can do the work. And they know that once those wings come in on your back, you are gone. You can't be a ground creature no more. You have wings, you will fly. So they're going to try to clip those wings for you. They're going to tell you that you should be afraid to fly. You should be afraid to go up there. Oh, there's birds up there that are going to try to kill you. There's planes up there that are going to take you out. If you guys ever heard, I think they were talking about, I can't remember if it was grasshoppers or fleas or something. And apparently they can jump, let's say 6 feet in height. And instead they take them and they put them in a jar that only allows them to jump a foot in height. And every time they jump, they hit that ceiling. Every single time they hit the lid over and over and over. And then they set them free. And though they are capable of jumping 6 feet, they only jump that 1 foot. Because at some point in time, something has stopped them from advancing. Something has stopped them from reaching that potential. And this is why negative people do it. Because they know that they can't get their wings yet. But they don't want you to get yours. Because they will be left behind. Thank you guys all for sitting in on this one, even with the raspiness in the voice. Go check out The Stone Disclosure. That's The Stone Disclosure on YouTube. All the podcast episodes are there. Follow the TikTok. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. And so hope you guys tuned out. Hope you guys learned something. And with that, guys, protect your heart.